Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, the lovely Kelly and I are going to be talking about one of my least favorite genres of books, romance. Romance, yeah. So we thought for the month of February, the month of love, that it would be fun for us to try out some different romance novels, kind of like through the ages, sort of a thing. We decided to do an 80s, what'd you call it, bodice ripper?
A bodice ripper.
Bodice ripper, so you know, what your mom and grandma used to read. A contemporary novel from, you know, today's modern day age. And then a classic romance novel as well. The three books that we picked were Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, Mountain Laurel by
Jude Deveraux.
Yep, that lady.
And
Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia
Hibbert.
Before we get into our talks and reviews and stuff like that, we're gonna throw it on back to our past selves because we actually did some little like reading vlog thingies while we were reading the books and stuff, kind of like little updates and reactions and all of that. So I'm gonna throw that in here. So past Amy, past Kelly, take it away for a little bit.
See you on the flip side. Everybody, giving you a reading update on our romance trifecta we decided to do. I chose to start with Jane Eyre, figuring I go in chronological time, publishing order. So I am nearly 25% in. I'm reading on my Kindle. And what I'm finding so far is that Charlotte Bronte was really wordy. I expected some of that because classics usually are. They just spent a lot more time on descriptions and setting things up because generally their readership spent more time. That was a main form of entertainment. But I think what I'm finding most that kind of bugs me is there's a redundancy to it. Like she'll describe something and then something will happen and then she will re-describe the same thing in a different way. And really, the descriptions are gorgeous. It's very pretty writing. But it's like she'll describe something, the exact same thing twice and sometimes even 3 times. So the other thing that's kind of hanging me up is there is a bit of sermonizing going on. She has this friend at school, and this friend is not the model student and is not as conscientious as she should be, and she's always getting in trouble for it. And Jane gets a little irritated on her behalf because she like thinks that this girl's being bullied, and this girl's like, oh no, you know, God has put me in this place and he provides me with these opportunities for my own self-edification. And it goes on and on and on. So and this girl's supposed to be like 13, 14 years old, and there's several places where this girl does this. And so it really not necessarily feels like it's coming from that character. It's Charlotte Bronte had a message, and this is how she chose to get it across, and not that it really felt very true to the character. So that kind of had me skimming a little bit and needing to go back. But other than that, really, I'm enjoying it. The language is a bit difficult to get through, not only because it's very verbose, but yeah, lots of big words. So I'm using my Kindle dictionary a lot. I'm also, well, so prior to this, my exposure, my experience with Jane Eyre is movie adaptations, which I've seen a bunch of them, and I like them. They very much focus on the romance aspect. And what I'm finding in the book is there's actually, at least so far, there's a lot of focus on Jane's character. Like when she's with the Reeds and she's mistreated there, and she kind of goes along and she's fine until her passions get the better of her. And basically it's her own sense of self-worth and, you know, her own sense of justice that rise up, and she ends up getting in trouble because she basically defends herself. She gets in trouble, and that's what gets her sent to the school. And of course, at the school, she gets in trouble, and kind of until she learns to rule in her passions in order to take advantage of the opportunity that she's been given. And I don't know, that's a whole course of a thing, but it very much gives a background on how Jane really became the person that she is. And I think that's good to see, because when it comes to her romance with Mr. Rochester, she really holds her own with him. And this is a time when classism is very much a thing and very much structured the society they lived in. And she's a governess and he's a gentleman. Two very different classes of people, and he's her boss, of course. So I think showing that bit of how her background and her childhood shaped who she is and gave her that strength of character is pretty interesting to see. So I'm not entirely sure this is a romance book. Kind of feels a lot more like, a woman's journey in discovering herself and making her own place in society, and making her own choices and choosing how she's going to live her life. And yes, romance is a part of that, but I'm interested to see how kind of different from here on it is too, and how much the romance really plays a part, or how much it's just kind of a vehicle for Jane's development. But I don't know, again, only about 25% in, so there's a lot of book left, and we'll see where it goes from here, and I will update you when I'm further along.
Okay, so I just finished chapter 25 of Jane Eyre, so I'm like well over halfway through the book, and this is supposed to be one of the greatest romances of all time, like one of the greatest romance books. I'm not getting it. I'm not. Like, I am so ready to be done with this book because I am just bored with it. I'm bored with it, and I don't know if it's just because it's like a classic. I don't know if it's the style that's written in the language that's just not doing it for me, but I just am not liking it. I don't hate it. Like, it's a good book, and like I'm okay with like leaving it on to like listen to if it's kind of like mindlessly listening, and I'm not like I'm okay with having it on to listen to. Like, if I don't have anything better to listen to, I'm okay with listening to it. Like, I don't hate it so much that I don't ever want to listen to it again. But I also don't feel the need, like, I really, at this point, it wouldn't matter to me if I just stopped reading it, because I don't care to find out how it ends or how the story continues. I don't know. We'll see if it changes, but just not in it. Not in it to win it with this one.
Look at that this morning. It's pretty snow. Looks like a pretty good day to be reading some Gothic romance, don't you think? Hey everybody, so I got my physical copy of Jane Eyre in the mail today, so it seemed like a good time for a reading update and to show you this gorgeous book that I just got. Isn't that beautiful? And you can see red pages. Look at the spine on that. Isn't that gorgeous? The quote on the back. So I'm going to switch over from my Kindle now and start reading this. But anyway, I am now 50% in. I'm used to the style, so the wordiness isn't quite so hard to slog through anymore. And I'm really enjoying this story. And the romance, I'm not buying into it really. The formation of it, it was just like insta-love kind of thing. They had a couple conversations, one which he was like all nonsense, and then after that conversation he like seemed nicer to her. Like, if they'd pass in the hall, he didn't ignore her. He smiled at her. And then they had a second conversation that he was like pouring out secret past stuff about Adele, the child that she was brought there to be governess to. all of a sudden, you know, she has these tender feelings for him. So, oh, well, okay, whatever. Beyond that, I just don't see what I don't see what there is to love about Mr. Rochester. He's not a nice person. He's kind of an asshole. And he doesn't really pay Jane any special attention except in certain circumstances. Just, you know, she does a lot of observing. He's having a house party right now with about 8 or 10 other people there. So she gets to do a lot of observing of him interacting with his kind of social class. And I don't really see that he's anything so delightfully special to be admired about. I just don't understand it. Some of the things that he's doing, I mean, it's sending her mixed messages. He obviously has a regard for her, and yet when she's around, he'll like completely ignore her. And whether that's him wrestling with his own feelings because they're in different social classes or what, I don't know, who knows. On the other hand, I can see why Mr. Rochester has feelings for Jane, because I really like Jane. Especially like about Jane is that she's very practical. You know, she has these feelings. She's a young woman. She's 18 years old. She doesn't have a lot of experience in the world. And so you could see where it'd be really easy for her to get swept up into things. But she's really practical. She has herself well grounded. She knows who she is. She knows what her social class is. She knows where she fits in with in her society. And while she can admit to herself that she has these feelings for Mr. Rochester, you can see in places where she'll say like things like, what good would it do me to be jealous? Because he's paying attention to this other woman as part of his house party. You know, she's very grounded, like reminding herself, you know, yes, you have these feelings, but you really need to get over it because this is going to lead nowhere good. So I think in that sense too, maybe that's also a bit fascinating to Mr. Rochester, because here she is, who he often comments on being young and inexperienced, and yet she's acting far more mature than he is, quite honestly. She has feelings and she has passions, but she kind of keeps her head about herself, and that's so refreshing to see. Instead of someone getting all angsty and doing rash things and making stupid decisions. And so yeah, I'm really enjoying Jane. Still not sure I'd call this a romance book. I'm not getting there yet. The mystery at the house, Thorn something or other. So the mystery at Thornfield is unfolding. It's being revealed slowly. She's really starting to question what she's been told, which is that it's all these noises that she hears and things that are happening are because of this one servant that she's met. And she's really questioning that because it's starting to not make sense to her. And so things are starting to unfold that way. And even though I know what the mystery is, but yet I'm still enjoying the reveals as they come. So I don't know, really liking it. Still wouldn't call it a romance. Still would call it kind of a story about a woman finding her way and learning to make her choices and being kind of the outlier in a society that requires women to basically do what they're told and be what they are. And Jane says, no, I'm not going to do that. And getting her knocks and taking her knocks along the way and, you know, keeping hold of herself. And I think that's the story, and that there's just a little love story involved in that, but kind of like it. But yeah, still not sure I'd call it a romance, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I know what happens, so we'll see in the book how it's portrayed and if it comes across any differently. So I will talk to you next time.
Hey everybody, I am back for another update, and this is George. I have actually screwed up my back, so I'm sitting here in bed, spending some quality time kind of flat on my back. But on the bright side, I have had a lot of time to read. So I finished Jane Eyre from my book. It's here by me. Yes, there it is. Finished Jane Eyre and solidified that no, I don't think this is a romance. I think it's Jane's story about, making her own choices and living her life the way that she wants to, according to, her values and her ethics. And obviously the romance is a pretty big subplot of that. But yeah, I wouldn't call this a romance like capital R, big romance. The romance goes, though, since that's kind of, the whole deal of our thing we're doing here. It's really, on the page as it's written, not a great romance, truthfully. I just did not get the whole falling in love part. It just wasn't very clear. It wasn't very on the page for me. And so a lot of what followed then didn't make a lot of sense either, because I just didn't get that these two really loved each other. There were parts of it that were really good, and I really liked their interaction, but yeah, I mean, it was really Jane's story, and how she just always kept to herself. And what I really, really liked is that at the one point where she leaves Thornfield, and a second point when she's with the Rivers family later on, is that, I said before, she's really practical, and she has all these emotions and these passions, but she really keeps her head. And I think what's really neat is that it shows a lot of how she struggles with temptations. Charlotte Bronte kind of laid out that Jane was really fighting with temptations to do, basically to fall in line with what was expected of her or what other people thought would be good for her. And yet she knew in her heart it was wrong, and she stuck to her guns and fought through the temptation and stuck with what she knew was right. So I really like that, and I continued to really like Jane as a character. It did get a little overdone, but a little angsty, a little dramatic, a little overly dramatic for me in some places, but overall, not too bad. I enjoyed it. So the first one was down, the chunkier one was down, and I also started in the second book, which is Mountain Laurel by Jude Deveraux. This is the kind of midway between a classic and contemporary. Jude Deveraux is kind of a pretty big name in romance, and we're talking like capital R romance, where this is actually the point of the story, is the relationship between the couple. But this is the story of Maddie and Ring, and yes, Ring is his name. Okay, so Maddie is an opera singer who is doing a tour of these gold rush camps in Colorado, and Ring, God, I'm sorry, I just can't. Ring is an army captain who was assigned to protect her. But Maddie doesn't want him around because Maddie has a secret. Maddie's being blackmailed into doing this tour of these gold towns. And anyway, Ring knows that she has a secret, and he's trying to figure out what it is. And Maddie, of course, doesn't want him to figure out what it is, so she's trying to get rid of him. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm about halfway through now. It's very slow burn, which is kind of unusual for a bodice ripper kind of book. We're just now kind of getting to seeing some of the physical attraction between the couple. But definitely no sex scenes yet, which is, again, halfway through, kind of unusual. So it's a little more slow burn, and I'm kind of enjoying the banter between the two. This one, it's kind of campy, kind of fun. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it so far. So we'll see where it goes and how the secret is, because you know it's going to be revealed, and I'm sure, given the tropes here, that you know Maddie's secret will come out and Ring will come running into the rescue. I'm sure at some point Maddie will probably be in grave danger and Ring will have to save her. But who knows? I don't know. It is a bit different from a traditional kind of 80s romance so far, like I said, in that it's a slow burn, and Maddie is a bit more independent and than some of the other books that I've read in this genre, and um, not just independent in her thought and her actions, but actually she has an independent life as an opera singer. She has a career, and she's, she knows who she is and she knows what she does, and so that's kind of different. So maybe the rest will be different too. Who knows? But I will check in with you a little later on, and hopefully I will be upright next time. So see you then.
Okay, ignore my broken mind from my cats, but I am halfway through reading Mountain Laurel, and during our last little filming session, Kelly told me that I wasn't gonna like this book. She's like, I was reading it and I kept saying in my reading vlog and my updates that Amy's not gonna like this book. Kelly, you were so right, like 120 million% right. This book, I really don't want to keep reading it. I really don't. And it's not because it's too spicy. In fact, there has been absolutely nothing happening in this book so far, and we're halfway through it, so cool. I don't know, like, it's just been so boring. It's been so boring. Nothing has happened. It's just pretty much two guarded people with secrets that they don't want to tell, but it's not even like interesting or exciting kind of a thing. Like, I don't know, and it just seems like a weird dynamic, like the way that one of the main characters is written, the female character, she seems like she's just like really young, and the officer in it seems like he was written to be like many years her senior, like I would say at least like 10-20 years, so it's just like a weird dynamic. I don't know if that's actually accurate, but that's just like how it is reading to me, that she's kind of like a younger, I don't even know, like, I don't like this. And also, there are no cowboys in this, Kelly. There's no cowboys in this. Okay, my one request for the 80s romance was cowboys. There are no cowboys in this. It's just a stupid little traveling singer. Oh, no, sorry, because traveling singer is offensive. Opera singer? Whatever. And an army captain. I want a cowboy. I want a cowboy. I wanted to say yeehaw to the cowboy. But anyway, I'm gonna stop for tonight. Like I said, I made it about halfway through. Probably try and finish it up tomorrow, but I have a feeling that my opinion on this book is not gonna change unless something like drastic happens. But yeah, Kelly, you're right. I'm not liking it, so we shall see if something gets better or something changes.
Hey everybody, back again for another reading update, and once again in bed. Got a little mobile, kind of overdid it, and so here I am again, flat on my back, quality time with the bed. But I'm here for a reading update, not a back update. So I finished Mountain Laurel by Jude Devereaux. First of all, I have to say to Amy, I apologize. She wanted a Western with cowboys, and while this is sort of a Western, there's definitely no cowboys. So sorry about that. and also because it just isn't very good. So I didn't pick a very good one for us to read for this one, so sorry about that. But yeah, I finished it, and wow, that second half. I mean, it started out, it was kind of campy and fun, and then it just turned silly. Um, I again still kind of liked the slow burn aspect. I liked that the the female lead, Maddie, wasn't kind of the helpless having to be saved constantly. Um, Ring kind of was your typical romance lead for this era. Um, the alpha male kind of, thinks he knows what's best, always saving everybody kind of thing. But it just turned into a whole thing. Like, he was so into his duty, and doing what's right was like a whole personality trait for him. Um, and it, like, over the top done. The relationship between the two of them, I mean, when they finally got around to doing the actual sex scene, the spiciness, it was so silly. I, oh, yeah, and that, and the fact that Maddie was an opera singer, and the whole opera bit really got real overdone. And then, like, the whole side plot, which had to do with Maddie's secret, just went nowhere. I mean, as we all know, because it's the way it goes, um, he figured out Maddie's secret, but it wasn't, I mean, she did eventually trust him enough to tell him her secret, but it was one of those, well, he already knew because he had followed her at one point and heard her talking to somebody, so he already knew. He was just waiting for her to tell him. I'm like, oh, I hate that. And then, like, he just took off to go take care of this problem that Maddie had himself, and it wasn't even like Maddie knew what he did. She knew where he went, and she just like waited around and pined for him and was like, oh my gosh, he's gonna get himself killed. Like, she didn't like go after him. It was a whole thing, and so it was kind of stupid. And so basically, Ring resolved her whole issue off page without Maddie. There was never a point where, the trope where the damsel in distress, Maddie was in trouble and he had to ride to the rescue. Nope, that didn't happen. It was completely off page. And so that was all kind of resolved itself. And then, like I said, the spiciness came along finally, and it was just not good. And then, of course, by this time they're like admitting they have feelings for each other and all of this jazz. And so with the main side plot, with all the tension, resolved itself off page, and before the end of the book, then there had to be another problem. And so then it just went to how they were going to be together, because Maddie had her singing career and she traveled the world singing, and he had to go home and take care of his family's business, which he felt obligated, like he had to do, because he was the only one that could do it. And that was a lot. He did things because he was the only one who could do it. He thought very highly of himself. But there was a whole explanation about why he joined the army, was so he could get away from the family business. So that just really didn't make sense. And so here now we have this new problem of how are we going to be together? And then that, of course, drove them apart. And I'm like, oh my God. The main problem through the whole book was just like thrown away so we could just have this new problem. Now, granted, Ring's reaction to all of this was very in character, and so was Maddie. So it was in character, but it was not with the story. So it was just like thrown in there at the end. And I don't know. It was not well executed. And like I said, it just got silly. And so I didn't enjoy that at all. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go back, because Jude Deveraux was one of my favorite romance authors. I'm thinking I'm gonna have to go back and read some of my books of hers that I really liked to see if this was just that bad, or if it's kind of, I don't know, if this genre is just not to my taste anymore. Now I don't exactly remember, but anyway, that's it. It's done. Again, Amy, I'm really very sorry.
Good night, my angel. Where the hell did that even come from? Like, seriously, I hate this book so much. I hate you so much. This relationship makes absolutely zero sense in my brain. I cannot physically, mentally wrap my mind around what is happening in this book. Like, it's just like disgusting. It's disgusting. I'm so confused. That, I think, is my biggest gripe with this book, is that I am very confused by the story. Because to me, it feels a lot like, what's his nuts? Captain Montgomery is really flip-floppy, wishy-washy, whatever. He's in here talking about how he wants her more than he's ever wanted anyone else on Earth, more than he'd ever wanted anything, all this stuff. But then when she makes advances toward him, or they're together, he acts like she isn't even there. And it's just, I'm so confusing. And I understand that, I guess it's because, like, he wants her to want him in the same way, but, like, bruh, you're sending mixed signals here. How is she ever going to get to the place where she feels vulnerable enough to let you know that she likes you, if you spend the whole time making her think that you don't like her? Like, ugh. I hate this. And it still feels a lot like a much older man and a young girl, and I don't like that dynamic. Like, I really don't know how old Captain Montgomery is, and maybe he's not that old, but he just comes across as someone who's like 50, and Maddie comes across as someone who's like 17, which I don't think that's right. They said how old Maddie was earlier in the book at some point, I think. I don't remember, quite frankly. I feel like everything that I've read with this book is just going, like, I'm reading it, and then it's just disappearing out of my noggin, because I don't care enough to actually retain any of the information that's coming from this book, because it's just so bad. And there are no cowboys yet! No cowboys! I wanted cowboys, Kelly! That was my one request! Ugh. This man is literally the worst. They're in a cave together, and he's like, oh no, we can't kiss, we can't do anything, like, I just can't do that in front of an audience, you know, like, okay, fine, like, PDA, not your thing, okay, great. And then, not even 2 sentences later, we got him all hot and heavy, like, kissing up on her, touching her boobs and all of this shit, and, like, getting her all hot and horny, and then he's just like, oh no, baby, I can't. Bruh. Freaking rude, my guy. Like, you don't just say, And you know what? Not even surprised, because the flip-flopper is just flip-flopping. That is what he be doing. He flip-a-flopping like a fish on the deck. I hate this. I hate this so much. Like, and he acts like he knows so much, and he's so experienced, and she knows nothing. He had the key the whole time. This man's a psychopath. That is not okay behavior. I feel like they were trying to go, like, at the beginning, like a old school rom-com sort of a thing where they handcuff each other together. They're fighting and they get handcuffed together and then they work out their differences and fall in love and blah blah blah. Okay, whatever. Go with that trope. But the man had a key the whole time. He had the key the whole time. Serial killer. Run for your life, sweetheart, because this man is going to become even more obsessive and protective and controlling of you. And if you don't get out now, it won't end well. For the record, still hate this book.
I just have to say, these two people, Chloe and Red, are so cute. I am loving this so far. They're just adorable, and the way they interact with each other is just so cute. And Chloe just cracks me up. I'm just having a really good time with this so far. It's really hooked me in just a few pages, so I'm really curious to see where this goes and how they get together and what goes on. So this is what I will be doing, and if I don't recover with my back, I might be reading this whole darn thing tomorrow. Who knows? But I will update again when I'm a little further in. So see ya. Hey everybody, just thought I would toss out a quick reading update. As you can see, I am upright, and upright in a car no less, so I'm mobile. So to celebrate, let's do a reading update. I am a little farther into Get a Life, Chloe Brown. And I guess I should say, since I didn't explain it last time, in case you don't know, the book is about Chloe Brown, who at the very beginning of the book has kind of a near accident. She's almost hit by a car. And of course, when her life flashes before her eyes, she finds it to be very boring. And so she sets out on this quest to get a life. And Chloe is a very organized list maker kind of person. So she makes a list on how to get a life. And the top of that list is number 1, to move out of her wealthy family's mansion and be on her own. And she does. And that's when she enlists her neighbor and superintendent of the kind of apartment complex, Redford Morgan, to help of her list. So that's kind of how they get acquainted and get the ball rolling, and they really don't like each other kind of right off the bat. There's a scene where Chloe saves a cat from a tree, and a little gray cat she named Smudge, which is just so cute. And then she's kind of stuck, and Red comes along and saves Chloe from the tree. And so that kind of gets the ball rolling with them getting to know each other better and seeing how they could get along. So right now I'm kind of at the point, they're spending a lot more time together. Chloe has enlisted him in helping her with her list. 2 things I think on her list, one being a drunken night out and one being going camping. So they're getting ready to go out for drinks together. There's been a little spiciness going on, which is pretty interesting. And I guess I have just seriously been out of the romance genre for a while because I was a little surprised. There was definitely no euphemisms used. It was very real talk, and it was good because it really made the characters feel more real that way too. So really enjoying it, and these 2 characters are just adorable. I am enjoying them so much, and their banter and
the point of view goes back and forth between them, and so you got inner thoughts from both of them, and it's hilarious. It's so funny, and I'm just enjoying the writing so much. So looking forward to keeping going with that, and we'll check in with you when I'm a little farther along. Bye.
I want to know how people read books like this in public and keep a straight face. I was not expecting this book to be so graphic? I don't know if that's the right word. So descriptive? So in-depthly descriptive? I don't know. It was not what I was expecting. This is a romance novel. Capital R romance. And it is so far the only one out of these 3 books that we've read that I would consider to be an actual romance novel. So, good job, Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Good job. I appreciate the length that it has gone to. Because otherwise, like, what's the point? Like Mountain Laurel. Whew. That book. I hate that book so much. Yeah, and it didn't have, like, it's supposed to be a romance novel. It didn't have, like, any romance in it at all. It was just leave it to the reader's imagination kind of a thing, which is not what I want from my romance novel. If you're gonna be called a romance novel, give the reader a reason to believe that you're a romance novel. This book does. This book does. Holy Moses. Good job, Get a Life, Chloe Brown. Good job. Good job.
Checking in. I am almost done with Get a Life, Chloe Brown. As you can see, I just have a tiny bit left there. I don't know if you could see my bookmark. About that much left to go. I have gotten to the part where, well, there's been some steamy stuff up until now, but just finished the part where they were finally together. So kind of the main spiciness. And it was really well done. I enjoyed reading it. Talia Hibbert writes these characters so well. It was sweet and, of course, spicy and just cute, kind of funny at places too. But what I really like about this, and have since I started, is just the characters. They are just feel so real. They're so well written. And what I have enjoyed really about them is that these two are very flawed people. They have a lot of baggage coming into this relationship. Things like Chloe has some major health problems, and because of that, some of her past relationships have let her down. So she has trust issues. And with Red, he had a really bad experience in a past relationship. So he also has trust issues, and seeing them kind of work through that in order to try and be together. But it's been really enjoyable reading. I do think there's probably about 40 pages or so left. So up until now, there hasn't been a whole lot of conflict in their relationship. There's been, I think, one instance sort of a misunderstanding, but really done well, because, you know, that whole misunderstanding trope can get silly and leave you with wondering why it even happened. But this was well done. It followed very well with the plot and the characters. It was well done, but it was resolved pretty easily. So I'm assuming that's probably not it. I'm assuming there is going to be yet another major conflict come up, unless there's, 20 pages or something of acknowledgments at the end. But again, if there's not another major conflict, I think that'll probably lower my opinion of the book, because there just really hasn't been much like within their relationship. Again, I really like them together, and seeing how the issues that they have kind of affect how they are with each other. And really kind of the sensitivity that the two of them have. Chloe actually just found out about what Red's issue is. And Red kind of knew about hers before she told him earlier on. So she just kind of found out about what his main issue is with relationships. And so just kind of seeing the sensitivity, how they treat each other. And there's just a little bit of almost walking on eggshells. So I'm assuming they're going to have to work through that and get to the point where they trust each other. Obviously, they're really attracted to each other and acting on that attraction, but yet they really haven't worked on their trust issues and fully trusting each other in the relationship. So again, I'm assuming that's going to play into a bigger conflict towards the end. So I'm kind of excited to see how that plays out. Really enjoying it. Mostly, I think up till now, I'm hitting on possibly a 5-star read with this for a romance book, which really kind of surprises me because it's not usually a genre I enjoy a whole lot. So excited. I'm thinking I have a basketball game to go to tonight, watch my youngest son play, and then I'm hoping to finish this before I go to bed tonight. So I will check in with you, hopefully, when I'm done. Bye. Well, sadly, we lost that game. But happily, I finished Get a Life, Chloe Brown, which means I'm now done with our trio of romance novels to read in February. I will leave most of my kind of more in-depth comments for my wrap up with Amy, but just to say that I did enjoy Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert pretty well. I did have kind of a couple issues that kept it from being kind of the great read that I thought it was going to be. There was another major conflict at the end, which I was expecting to come, or at least hoping was going to come. And it was, again, very well done, very in character, very much followed the story, but it's more for me what it was. It was another kind of misunderstanding situation. Which is fine because, like I said before, she handled it very well. I mean, it was very much in character. It wasn't shoehorned in just for kind of some manufactured drama. It wasn't one of those things, well, if the characters would just talk, which is generally, the biggest complaint about that trope. It wasn't. It was very well done. But we kind of already had that before. So in some ways, yeah, it was kind of a natural escalation, kind of showing again, these two characters jumped into this relationship and had not yet learned how to trust themselves even, or another person. So it's kind of a natural escalation, but at the same time, it kind of felt like, oh gosh, we're doing this again, kind of the same thing. So there was that. But I mean, it was, like I said, it was still handled well. I do wish that maybe this main conflict had happened a little earlier in the book so that there would have been much more time spent dealing with the aftermath, how these two characters kind of recognized their part in this conflict, recognized how their past traumas played into that, and then went about kind of working on how to work on themselves and how to be able to be better in a relationship, because I do think that was well done. and then, you know, obviously more time on them being able to get back together. The ending was really, really cute. I did like it. Some of the things that I thought were really cute in the beginning, now that I've sat with the book for a little while, it really aren't so cute anymore. They kind of started to wear on me. But, you know, that's kind of some minor stuff. And I will mention more again, like I said, with the main wrap up with Amy. So I am done. So this will be my last vlogging video until till we get back together and discuss all of these with my partner. So I will see you then. Bye.
All right, so we're back.
At this point, we have not watched each other's.
Yeah. So yeah, this is kind of gonna be our first discussion with each other on what we thought of the books. Do you want to start with Jane Eyre?
Sure. So Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte, as you saw in my vlogs, I was very taken with the book I got.
It is beautiful
It's
copy.
really gorgeous. And also that I was quite impressed that it was such a chunky book. I think I said that several times. So the takeaway, as you all know, but I will now tell you, not a romance book. This is not a romance book. It is not. But what it was a story of a woman's journey and finding herself and making her own choices and living her life according to her. And in that sense, I really liked the book. Now, since we're talking about romance, as I repeatedly said in my vlogs, I didn't like the romance at all. At all. So I thought Mr. Rochester was not anything to be all swoony over.
Oh no, there was never
Like-
a moment when I was reading it where I'm like, okay, this man, he's got me. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like I want this romance to work out so much. No.
No. Mm-mm.
It was not a Mr. Darcy situation. With this.
No. So, but I don't know. I did not ever look to see, how did Charlotte Bronte herself talk about this book? I didn't know if she thought it was a romance or if she was telling, because I did also see somewhere that this is considered sort of autobiographical. But I never looked into that any further. So I don't, maybe Charlotte didn't mean for it to be a romance.
Maybe.
But she didn't write a romance very good.
No.
Because there was romance in it. It was a romance with Mr. Rochester. And no, I didn't like him.
No.
In the book, the movies are an entirely different story. But the movies play it up a lot more. And I do not think that Mr. Rochester was the same in the book as he is in the movies. I think they really did that different, a lot different. But yeah, I didn't care for the romance. He was not anything to be in love with. I didn't think, you know.
The way that she described like his looks and everything too, like it just didn't sound like she was even like attracted to him. Like she kept calling him ugly pretty much. And I'm like, but this is the man that you love? Like I'm just so confused.
I don't know why. I don't know what there was, because it was not well explained or well laid out what there was for Jane to love. Now on the flip side, it was. I mean, I could definitely see why Mr. Rochester was in love with Jane. So on the flip side, there was less, because he would say things like, you know, her unusual character. She had an unusual personality, and he was really taken with that. I mean, he actually verbalized it.
Right.
But with Jane, I just never got anything about why.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And he was not a good person.
No, he wasn't.
So yeah, I personally wouldn't say it was a romance book.
No, it's not a romance book. And even if we take away the whole it being a romance book or like whatever, the story in general just was not appealing to me. Like, I mean, quite frankly, it's like a 2 or a 3 star for me.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. 2 might be a little bit mean, but I just I was driving here tonight to come talk about this book, and I could not remember if I finished the book or not. That is literally like how much I did not care for this book. Like I could not be bothered. Because I know when I was reading it, there was a point where I'm just like, I don't even want to like keep reading this book. And it was, I listened to it on audiobook, and I remember there were just times where it was playing and I wasn't even paying attention to what it was saying, because I was just so bored with it.
It was very wordy. It's very wordy, which I expected, but really wordy.
Yeah, too wordy.
Yeah.
Like,
especially
there was
in the
no
beginning.
point. Yeah, there was so much that just could have been taken out. Like, like, why? This is all pointless, useless information that I don't need, and now we're just, like, writing for writing's sake and trying to make a big book because big books are fun. I don't know. Like,
but, 1800s. When you have no TV, no radio. I mean, people who read, that was a main form of entertainment. So they could spend time with their books. They wanted to spend time with their books. Because, the only
way...
Jane Austen gets pretty wordy sometimes too. But I'm not going to compare because
you can't compare. There is no comparison.
Jane's my classic queen. So, but still, I expected some of that. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot.
Yeah.
So, I still gave it 4 stars because I did enjoy Jane.
Wow.
I enjoyed that. I did. And I talked about it before, but I just enjoyed her character. I enjoyed her strength. I enjoyed how she got what she wanted by sticking to her guns. And she stuck to them. I mean, especially, afterwards when she was with the Rivers family. And there was a lot of pressure.
Oh, yeah.
It was, my gosh, she should have been just so overwhelmed and flattered that St. John Rivers wanted to marry her. Mm-hmm. And she was like, you don't love me, and I don't love you, and so, no, I'm not going to marry you.
Yeah. Which, props to her.
So, I really think, and that, to me, was Jane all the way through. She stuck. She stuck with what she knew was right, whether it kind of went along with what she should do or not. And so I did. I liked her. I think she's a good character, and I think she was well done. I liked her. I liked her story.
Yeah. I did like her as a character, but just, like, overall, I just found the story boring. But then again, here we go. Not a huge classic fan. I'm not a huge fan of classic novels.
Yeah.
So, it usually takes me, like, 3 reads through a classic to actually start, like, maybe liking it.
Maybe liking it.
Like, I had to read Pride and Prejudice, like, 3 times before I liked it. And now it's one of my favorite classics.
Love that book.
It's the only one that I've read multiple times. Well, Wuthering Heights I've read more than once, too.
Okay.
I did not like Wuthering Heights as much.
I didn't care for Wuthering Heights. Maybe it's the Brontes.
Maybe.
It could be. Who knows? Who knows?
Because I liked Emma. Who wrote Emma? Jane Austen?
Jane Austen.
Yeah. So I liked Emma. I liked Pride and Prejudice. I didn't care for Wuthering Heights or Jane Eyre.
Okay, so Jane Austen, though, she's like... She tackles, like, serious subjects of her time. But, she really was like a satirist.
Yeah.
She was making fun of her social group, really, in a lot of ways. But she had social commentary, but she was so funny. The way she would just write characters, and, like in Pride and Prejudice, Lizzie's parents, they were so ridiculous, but they were written so straight. It's just funny. So, to me, like, I don't think for that genre of classic, I don't think you can top Jane Austen. She was really good at what she did, there's for sure.
Yeah.
But, come on. You had to have liked Jane Eyre more than this dumpster fire.
Here's the grand statement of the night, of the year, of the century. This book, I liked there was nothing about this book that I liked.
When it was over.
Yeah, that was the only thing. I would rather read all of our book club books from last year again than read this book.
I would not go that far.
I would. I would. I was
far.
sitting there thinking, like, I hated the Midnight Library, and I would rather be reading the Midnight Library while I'm reading
Oh my goodness.
Like, it was
dumpster fire.
dumb. I literally threw this book in the dumpster in my reading vlogs when I finished it, because that's where it belongs. Like, no.
So, I said the first half, I was enjoying the silliness, the campiness. It was really campy to me, and it was fun. I was, it was just like not taking it seriously, and it was fun. And then the second half started. I was like, oh no, it just got so silly. And I said that multiple times, just ridiculously silly. And really, who names their male lead character Ring? Who does that? I mean, okay, so I understand that Jude Devereaux wrote like 1 million books, and she was probably reaching for names by this point, but come on. Yikes.
Yeah. And not just, the way that it was like,
Oh
the spelling of Ring and everything too.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
That just like threw me off. Like, as a silent H on the front with an apostrophe Ring, and I'm like, and then
And
like
I
for
was
the
like-
whole rest of the book.
It was like supposed to be something like biblical or something. Like, I've never heard that before.
No.
But get this, his first name was Christopher. But because he was named after his father, nobody called him Christopher or Chris. Because it would have been Little Chris.
Yeah.
So they called him by his middle name.
Why couldn't they have just called
Just-
him like Monty?
Ring.
His last name was Montgomery. Why couldn't
Yeah.
they just call him like Monty or something?
Ring. Anyway, it was stupid.
It was so dumb.
so stupid. And like I said, I was enjoying the camp in the beginning, but then in the second part, when they actually like started to have feelings for each other, be attracted, it fell frickin' apart. I mean, the whole, like, when he tricked her by making his brother pose as a... Oh my god, it was horrid.
It was so bad. Like,
I mean, okay.
none of that was okay with me.
No.
None of that was okay.
No. No. Okay, here's what I will say about this, because it was published in 1990, so it was like sort of the end of the bodice ripper period, because that started in like the 70s, went through the 80s. And of course they called it bodice rippers because they were generally all historical romances, and there was a lot of consent issues in these books, and a lot of it involved men ripping dresses off of women. Whether consensual or not, there was a lot of literal bodice ripping going on. So that's why they're called that. But I think you can kind of tell that this was towards the tail end of that era, because Maddie was very independent. She had a career, and she had her place in the world, and she had plans, and that didn't involve having a husband or family or anything. Yeah. And in the end, she stuck to that. So it really wasn't as, for instance, I really liked Kathleen E. Woodwess, and one of her books started with a rape, but which, in this genre happened. And anyway, after that first encounter, one night stand, whatever, he thought she was a prostitute and didn't listen when she tried to explain that she wasn't. And she ended up pregnant, and so he tracked her down, and basically she was forced to marry him. And yeah, and so she was like, at the time she was with this family member, they didn't treat her very well, blah blah blah, that was the usual kind of thing. So she was never independent on her own. You know, she was always dependent on this family. And then when she got married to this guy, then she was dependent on him. And it started in England and went to the American South. And so she was constantly never had anything outside of being this guy's wife. And then mother to the child. And then, of course, then his lover and partner. But she never had anything outside that. And that was really the way things went in all of those books. Mm-hmm. So you can tell, I think, in the end, this was getting to the end of that, because that was not at all the case.
Yeah, no. Maddie was definitely very, like, I don't need you kind of a situation. Yeah. Like, I want to be with you, but if I'm not going to choose my dreams over, or you over my dreams.
So that is for the era of this book, I will give it props for that. Yeah. And their sexual encounters, while they were absolutely ridiculously stupid, there was no consent issues.
There was not, but there should have been.
Oh my gosh.
I did not consent to read that.
I have never read anything so poorly done in my life. Well, I probably have, but this is the most recent. It was just, oh my God.
It was so bad.
Ew. It was horrible. Okay, so literally Maddie was an opera singer, right? So there was this whole thing through, and it was just stupid. But there was this whole thing that, you know, at first he didn't think a whole lot of her. And then he heard her sing for the first time. And then it was like, oh my gosh, her voice.
She's the most desirable woman ever.
Yeah, and her voice. And so at one point he was like, he said something like, will you sing for me? And she's like, no, I won't. And it kind of, it was a thing. And then they go. Oh my God. I can't even say it.
I couldn't believe I was reading
I can't even say it. They like go out together. And she says she's going to sing for him. And she does. And it's like this flips this massive switch in his, well, wasn't this head?
Yeah.
It was literally the stupidest thing I've ever read in my life. And they did not leave this cabin for 3 days.
Yeah.
In the middle of this camp where everybody was going on. Oh my God. Oh my God.
They had the cabin shaken.
It was.
And people in the camp were taking bets on like how many times they're gonna fall off that piano, or like I don't even remember.
Oh my God, it was so awkward and so bad.
It was so bad. And her little baby sister, 12-year-old sister, is in the camp, and his younger brother's in the camp, and her little sister's the one that's running the bets and everything, and it's just there was nothing about that I liked.
No.
Like, it was so bad. And then, like, terrible. Describing what was going on in the cabin, there wasn't...
No.
It was done so terribly.
Oh, my God. When they literally, like, fell on the ground and he... I seriously can't even... Like, literally fell on the ground and he entered her at that point.
Yes!
Oh, my God.
I literally...
so dumb.
Like,
I think I'm turning red just talking about it.
Well, it was like the way that it was described, first off, like, it's literally just like, whoop!
Like, and he literally tripped and fell. Oh my God, it's terrible.
It's like those jokes, it's just like, you know, just trip and fall into her.
Yes, he did. I'm not even sure that's anatomically possible.
No, there is no way that it is. And also, like, okay, so I could not figure this out. Was she a virgin before even starting all of that or not? Because if she was, there ain't no way.
That had to have hurt.
That had to have hurt so bad.
Well, yeah, because, I mean... because he was giving her a hard time because, you know, opera singers and the theater people, she had all these admirers, and how she must have gotten around, and she, for a long time, never, like, corrected, let him just assume what he wanted to assume, but she said she never was with anybody.
Yeah, she said all she'd done is kiss, right?
Yeah, I think, maybe she'd let them take her to dinner or whatever, but she never had any sort of relationship with any of these people, so...
Oh dear God, this poor woman. There is no
moly.
No. And then just describing how, like, after he went into her for that first time or whatever, and then, like, she's just scooting across the floor.
Splinters.
That's all I could think about was, like, how bad that had to have hurt.
Splinters.
And then, like, the way, like, she just, like, hit the wall.
Yes. Oh my God, it was horrible.
Like, I was trying to picture it in my head, and I just literally couldn't. Like, it looked like a horror movie scene.
I started skimming quickly because I'm like, I don't even want to read this.
Like, I didn't even
There
know
is
how.
nothing arousing about this at all.
No. Like, I was in physical pain for her.
Oh my gosh, it was so bad. So bad.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. Yikes. So.
Like, I'm sorry. And then.
So come on, Jane Eyre was not that bad.
No. Jane Eyre was not. That was one of the worst books I've ever read. Hands down.
Yes.
Hands down. That is a 1-star book.
I apologize to you in my reading.
Yeah, I yelled at you
I
in my
apologize.
Because I remember you telling me in our last video that we filmed that I'm gonna hate the book.
Yeah.
And so in one of my vlogs, I'm sitting there and it's like, Kelly told me I would hate it. You were right.
Okay, so really, she wanted a Western.
I wanted cowboys.
Okay, so
Ain't
I tried.
No, there were no cowboys in this book, and I yelled in my vlogs about it. You would have seen it. I yelled, I'm like, there are no cowboys.
I did. I tried though, because remember, I told you, I kept looking up this era of book, Western, and all I was coming up with was like the Indian abduction, My Savage Lover, and I just really didn't feel like reading a book that fetishized Native Americans at this point in time. Maybe I should have, because it was bound to have been better than this. So this is what I was coming up with, and I'm sure there are this era historical romance with cowboys, but I couldn't find one. I could not find one.
So if you guys know of any,
Yeah, please.
let us know in the comments.
Please. That
because
are completely ridiculous.
I still want a cowboy.
There are a shit ton of contemporary romances with cowboys.
There are.
There literally are. And I think that's probably why I could not find one from this era. Okay, so the other thing that was disappointing for me is that Jude Deveraux, I remember her being one of my favorite authors. I mean, because I was reading through her list of books and I'm like, oh yeah, I read that book. Oh yeah, I like that book. And I'm going to have to go back and read some of them now because I don't remember them being this stupid. It's literally not. I mean, I almost went and read Kathleen E. Woodward's again with her consent issues just to make myself feel better. That's sad.
Oh, yeah. It was rough.
It was bad.
It was so rough. Like, I had no interest in reading the 80s romance novels prior to this, and I have no interest in trying to find one now for sure. Like, it...
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it was bad.
Oh, no.
There is one that she wrote, though, that was a time travel story where the woman goes back in time, and you might like that one, actually, because it was pretty good. And there was, as I recall, there was no, like, consent issues in that one either. So, it was really good. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Truthfully, I think I've had my fill of romance for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because with all of this,
We still had this one to go.
I have to say that the romance in this book is more of what I was expecting to be in something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was
Yes.
very graphic,
Yes.
very in your face, very
Yes.
detailed. Very detailed.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, this is a romance I expected to be in something like this. I didn't
Well,
hate it.
And what, again, surprised me about this was you were like halfway in and there had been nothing.
No.
No spicy.
Yeah, no.
No spice.
Zero spice.
Nothing.
Zero spice.
maybe a little attraction, like he's a handsome guy, she's beautiful, whatever, but no spice.
No.
And that's unusual for this.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah,
this book, the spice level through the roof.
Yeah, it was pretty big. It was pretty big.
It was. I didn't hate it though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. Like, out of the 3 books, this one was my favorite. I actually am probably gonna continue the series.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I thought that their attraction and everything, like, the way that their romance started and went down was kind of odd. Like, it didn't flow super smoothly in my mind. Like, they started off with him, like, completely hating her and her completely hating him, and then there was just, like, okay, now we just love each other sort of a thing. I don't know. I didn't care for that. I would have liked a little bit more of, like, a build-up and working through the hate for each other and working through all of those issues. But, yeah, once they got past that, their romance was kind of cute. Like, I like how it called her Button and their little flirting, and
I did really love that, and I thought they were adorable.
Yeah.
I thought they were adorable separately.
Yeah.
Not just together, but just as separate characters, and her cat, Smudge.
Oh, Smudge. I'm so
Smudge.
glad that she got Smudge
Isn't that the
back.
cutest damn name for a cat?
Yeah. Yeah.
Smudge.
I am so sad that I, like, didn't think of that name for my cat.
I know. That's what I was
I'm
thinking.
just gonna have to get another one.
Get another cat.
Yeah.
There you go. Name it Smudge. I thought they were adorable. I thought they were adorable together. I thought their care for one another, like their sensitivity towards one another, I thought was really nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe it's even on it. Well, maybe especially on his part, it was just a little tiny bit unrealistic. I mean, he was like immediately doing like the exact perfect thing that she needed.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was a little, but you know, the way that he went about it, it was just kind of, it was sweet.
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. I think to a certain extent it was unrealistic, but there were definitely moments where I'm just like, okay, this guy reminds me of someone I know, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think it would have been nice, though, maybe instead of him knowing the exact thing to do, if he had just said, what do you need me to do? And she could have. But then again, she probably would have said, get out.
Probably.
No, Chloe. But yeah, what I started off liking, but then the more that I sat with it, it was okay in the beginning, but then it wore on me, was the graphicness. Because, I mean, I knew, obviously, there was going to be spiciness. But it was very much like I said in my video or my vlog, that there was no euphemisms involved in this at all.
Oh no.
I mean, they called it what it was, called the axe what it was, but yet, and in the beginning, okay, sure. But then as they went on and developed a relationship and fell in love, we expected it to be a little more romanticized.
Yeah.
And it really was not. And I'm like, you know what? If my husband, which I don't know, maybe he does, but I don't know. But if he thought of me that way, I'd be offended. I mean, maybe use a few gentler terms in there. Something a little more, not flowery, but a little softer maybe. I mean, we're talking well, not that I read hardcore porn or anything, but I mean,
I didn't even.
It's a little more pornographic than romantic. And that wore on me the longer I sat with it. At first I thought, hey, I really like this. This is real. It makes the characters feel real. And then it just didn't.
Yeah.
So it really didn't wear well, was my problem with it.
It was too much. And I agree with you, completely. And especially once they like were together and like more serious, it was happening more frequently as well.
Yes.
And then I don't know, I didn't care.
Well, and then when it actually happened, because Chloe had this list, of course, and going camping was on her list, so Red took her camping. And so that was when they were actually finally going to have intercourse. My God, they'd had everything else at this point, but they're actually going to have intercourse. And he set up the tent and made sure that there was a sub, because she had multiple health issues, one fibromyalgia being one of them. And so he made sure that there was a nice air mattress and fluffy blankets, and he set up candles and everything. I mean, made it so romantic. And then the description, the writing of the actual lovemaking was fucking. It was, I'm sorry. I try and watch my mouth, but that's what it was. It wasn't making love. It wasn't even having sex. It was fucking. So, and at that point I was like, I was ready for some softer stuff.
Yeah.
When it came to it.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing. But, I don't know. I liked it overall.
Mm-hmm.
I really did.
Yeah. Like I said, I thought that they were really cute.
They were really cute.
Like, every time, so I listened to a lot of this on audiobook, which I did not like the audiobook. Did not. But every time that I heard him call her Button, I just was like,
so cute.
Like, it made my heart flutter, and I'm like, okay, that's really adorable.
Oh, that was adorable. That little nickname was so cute. Button was so cute because it came from her cardigans. She always wore a cardigan, and he thought her cardigans were sexy. And so that's where her nickname Button came. I thought that was adorable.
Yeah.
Absolutely adorable. I liked how absolutely flawed these two people were. And I really liked how I didn't expect kind of a more serious kind of tone, really. But coming from, they had, Chloe had all these physical problems, but they also had some emotional baggage coming into it. Chloe had problems before with relationships, and Red had a huge problem with a relationship. And I think it did really well in showing how that played out when they tried to have a relationship together. Mm-hmm. And how really they jumped into this relationship without working on their baggage beforehand, and how that played out.
Which was not well.
It did not go well. And I said in the vlogs too that the first misunderstanding, it flowed well. It went right along with the story, and normally I'm like not a fan of misunderstandings, but that one was well done. But the second time, the big blowout, it did show how they really didn't, still, even after the first time, didn't really kind of recognize like, oh, maybe we need to be working on some stuff on our own. So it flowed from that. It was an escalation from that, and yet it was the same thing the second time. Like, okay, sure. But, like I said, it did go with the story. I'm just generally not a huge fan of the misunderstanding thing. But it was okay.
I felt it was realistic, though.
Well, it was well executed. I will say that. It was so well executed, and I wish it had happened earlier in the book, though, because I think everything that followed afterwards, where they did, especially Red, realized that he needed therapy. Mm-hmm. I think I would have liked to have seen a lot more of that aftermath before they got back together. But because that happened in like the last, 30 pages of the book, yeah, the whole getting through the aftermath and making up, I thought was a little too rushed. I would have liked to have seen that drawn out a bit more. That's also a good part of romance is, boy meets girl, they fall in love, they have a problem, they break up, and then there's angsty stuff, and they get back together.
Yeah.
There just wasn't quite enough of that angsty stuff at the end, I think. But it was still pretty good. I don't think I'm going to read any more of them. I just think this one was enough. It was cute, and I liked it, but yeah. Maybe when we're done with all of this romance.
Yeah, I'm taking a break from romance after after our book club book too.
Yeah, the rest of my reading for the month I almost exclusively dedicated to romance too. And I read a lot of books this month. So, yeah, I'm pretty much done with romance for a while. But maybe later on I'll pick these back up. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see.
Probably not.
Anyway, what I expected to see, because, again, with the whole kind of progression, I'm going to have these backwards, but I don't care. I expected this to be a lot less of an independent woman, and this being tiny bit more, and this definitely. I expected to see a lot more a progression of consensual type stuff. And really what we got was 3 pretty independent women and pretty solid relationships. I mean,
yeah.
You know, there was no power. Well, I mean, in Jane Eyre there was, because he was her boss, and the different social classes. But I think that was mitigated by the way Jane was, because she didn't buy into it.
Right.
So I think we got, you know, not a lot of power imbalances between characters. I expected to see it getting bad here, better here, and then, you know, kind of our modern sensibilities. That's what I expected. I don't think so. I think it was pretty well
I think they
evenly
were all
handed.
even, yeah.
All very independent women characters, and
I liked it.
not what I expected.
No, but I liked it for sure.
I did too.
Now, as far as the romance and stuff goes, those books were totally not what I was expecting.
Me either.
I expected Jane Eyre to be kind of like a you will listen to me wife sort of a story, kind of a love like that.
Yeah.
The 80s one, you know, I expected it to be pretty much like a porno, because, you know, all the Fabio covers that I see.
Consent issues and
Yeah.
all of that involved, yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought the contemporary was just going to be like lighthearted and flowery kind of a romance, and holy Moses was I just like taken aback by that. So yeah, none of them quite matched my expectations, and the only one that I was okay with that being the case was Get a Life, Chloe Brown.
Yeah, it was pretty well done.
Yeah, it was. Every time I think about her and Red, I'm just like, oh, it's just so
They were so cute.
They're so cute.
They were so cute.
Like, I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And I really did not like Red at the beginning. I don't know why. Like, I didn't care for him all that much. And then they got together, and I'm just like, okay. Like, he's really a sweetheart.
Okay, I guess he's nice.
Yeah, he's not that bad.
I guess he's okay.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else on these?
Oh, no.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
I'm done with these books.
Yeah.
I'm done with romance.
Yeah. Well, reading it, we still have a lot to talk about in future videos. We got book club next week. So, I mean, it was a nice little experiment, I guess.
It was. And I'm...
You were going to say, I'm glad you did it, right? And no, we're not.
I'm open to trying another romance experiment. Like,
we could try again with different books.
Yeah.
Maybe.
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 Probably not. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I will just say, I read a lot of these when I was younger, and there are definitely, from my memory, there are definitely better ones out there than that. And as far as the classic goes, I mean, obviously we know, like Pride and Prejudice, that was a romance.
Yeah.
Emma,
100%.
the sweet little romance in
It was
Emma,
so
you know,
cute.
so arguably there's better books out for that too, so. Anyway, and
Yeah.
Lord knows there's a ton of contemporary out there, so.
Yeah.
We can try again.
Just not for a while.
Not for a
Maybe
while.
next February.
Maybe.
I need a break. But,
Okay,
yeah. So
we're good.
That is going to do it for our, what did you call it? Menage a trois.
Our menage a trois.
Of romance novels. Definitely is about as fun as I would expect an actual menage a trois to be, so.
I don't think I've ever imagined how that might go.
Yeah, me neither.
Sure you haven't. Yeah, you better. You better. We're in a God-fearing house here. Anyway, this was it. It was a fun experiment to do.
It was.
I mean,
It was.
honestly, this book was really so bad it was funny. I mean, cringy funny. So, you know, there was some entertainment value to that. So, I don't know. It was a fun experiment.
It was.
I am glad we did it because now we can say we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah, bragging rights now.
Oh gosh, you sound like me after I had Pikes Peak.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got some bragging rights. That and the Manitou incline.
Oh, I did that too, yeah.
Yeah, that's some bragging rights there. Anyway, I think that'll do it for our romance experiment.
Thank God.
So, yep, we're done. We can now move on with our lives.
Oh, yes.
I'm sick, seriously, though.
This book is beautiful.
I love this book.
Yeah.
Just because it's so pretty. Okay.
Anyway.
All right.
Okay. Well, I'm Amy.
And I'm Kelly.
And this has been the
Everyday
Everyday
Epic.
Epic. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.